Welcome to the X-Wing Duo. Today we're talking about the X-Wing 2nd Edition Damage Deck. Today we're talking about the X-Wing 2nd Edition Damage Deck. Specifically the promo version of it that came with the original core set if you pre-ordered.
Oh.
I'm John.
I'm Alex.
And I hope you enjoy this. What do we got first?
The Panicked Pilot.
Okay.
Gain 2 stress tokens, then repair this card. That's a pretty good card from some of the other ones from the damage deck.
That's one of the best ones in the deck. 2 stress tokens. Yeah, 2 stress tokens is bad, but it's not nearly as bad as some of the others. It's one of the ones that I prefer to get.
Yeah, if I was going to get any critical damages, that would be the one I would want to get. One of the ones.
Yeah, I agree.
The next one...
It's important to note that there are 2 copies of this in the deck.
Oh, it's 2 copies. Blinded Pilot. While you perform an attack, you may modify your dice by only spending force for their default effect. Action, we pay all this card.
Again, this is another one that I prefer to get. For starters, I fly Republic most of the time, or Imperial. And I like to use the Force users. The Force tokens really help. And to have a crit that says you're only allowed to use Force tokens, that means that I can really lean towards the repositioning actions instead of focus, evade, and target lock. Kind of forces my hand.
Kind of gets you also used to like the people you're playing sometimes. If it's a new build, it could get you used to like someone that's a Force user.
That's true.
It could get you used to them. So
sure.
It's better than some of the others, I can tell you
yeah,
that.
that's another one that I don't hate to see it when I see it.
The only time that would be one of the worst times to get it is when you don't have any Force users
that's
on
true.
that.
Yes, that's true.
Thing.
But
So
it's also nice that it's a repairable card.
Yes. If it wasn't a repairable card,
that would hurt.
It would hurt a lot. Okay.
And there are 2 copies of that in the deck.
The next one is Wounded Pilot. After you perform an action, roll 1 attack die. On a hit or critical result, gain 1 stress token. Action, repair this card. It's one of the better ones. It's not good. It's definitely not
None
good.
of the damage deck is good.
No.
But again, it seems like these lower numbered cards in the damage deck, these are the ones that you really want to see. Because, let's see here. After you perform an action, roll 1 attack die. Yeah, you still have access to all your... Basically, it potentially turns all your actions into stressful actions, into red actions. And that's not necessarily the worst thing in the world. If you got a whole bunch of guys on you, doing the focus action and taking a stress, okay, I'll take the risk. Especially with repositioning, with boosts and barrels, if you can get out of somebody's arc and take a stress token, deal. And again, this is a repairable damage card, so it's not terribly bad. And there are 2 in the deck.
Yes, I keep forgetting to mention that.
What's next?
Stunned Pilot. After you execute a maneuver, if you move through or overlap an obstacle, suffer 1 damage, and you don't repair this card. There's no action.
This is non-repairable. 2 in the deck. And this one, in most cases, is not a big deal.
No.
If you're flying aces, small base ships, a lot of repositioning, a really good dial, this is no big deal. Because most of the time, you can maneuver and not have to worry about obstacles. Now sometimes you make a mistake, misjudge, that can be devastating. You just have to be more careful if this is face up. What's next?
The next one, console file. Before you engage, roll 1 attack die. On a hit result, suffer 1 hit damage. Action, repair this card. There's 2 of them in the deck.
Okay. Is repairable. That's good. On a hit result, suffer 1 damage. Now it's important to note that you always engage. Whether you have a shot or not, that ship still engages. So when it's there, if you're a high initiative, and you receive this later on in the round during the engagement phase, that's pretty good deal, because you'll be able to potentially repair it before you engage again. If you're a low initiative, these are really bad, because if you haven't engaged yet, as soon as you engage, there's potential of getting damage. And it's happened a number of times where I would die because of this. I would have 1 hull left, console fires face up because I took it during that engagement round, and I would roll when I engage and explode before I had the chance to even do my thing.
That sucks.
It's not the best scenario. 2 in the deck. What else we got?
Damaged engine.
Mm-hmm.
Increase the difficulty of your turn maneuvers. So, let's say they were blue, they would be white now. If they were white, they would be red now.
Exactly.
There are 2 of them in the deck. This is not the worst one.
It's not bad unless you have a ship
That depends on the turn.
that you need the turns. 1 turns, man, if you have white 1 turns on your dial, that is a great maneuver, because you can turn on a dime and you can point in a different direction and barely move, and that's good. As soon as that turns into red, that's bad. that is a devastating card on some ships, and on other ships, it's not a big deal. It all depends on what you're flying.
It depends on if it's a white or blue tone.
Of course.
Yeah, like...
Yeah, if it's a blue, honestly, if you get on a blue turn, now it's white. You can still do that. Granted, you can't relieve stress with that turn anymore.
But you can still use it.
Stressed. And that's good. So.
Yes.
What else? And there were 2 in the deck.
Yes. I'm saying it. I keep saying it now. Weapon failure. While you perform an attack, roll 1 pure attack die. Action, repair this card.
That is awful. And I hate getting that, again, right before I engage. You get that right before you engage, and now you're rolling 1 less. When you are counting, I mean, you're usually, when you have a shot, and you haven't engaged yet, you're usually counting on, sometimes you even start doing the math in your head. Okay, there's a 30% chance that I'll make damage. There's a 100% chance that I can make damage. When you have that, it drastically reduces your chances of putting damage through.
Yes.
That's bad.
Yes, that is.
So, yeah, that's one of the worst in my opinion.
It's definitely not the worst.
It's not the worst.
Deck,
We'll get to the worst.
It's one of the worst.
Yeah, I agree.
This would be most definitely the worst if you didn't get to repair the card. If it wasn't an action to repair the card.
I still don't think it's the worst. We'll get to the worst.
Yeah, but I definitely think it would be kind of like racing to get to the worst.
Yeah.
If it didn't have an
I agree.
action to repair it.
2 in the deck.
2 in the deck, yes. Hull bleach. Yes. Before you would suffer 1 or more damages. regular damages, suffer that much critical damage instead.
This, in my opinion, is the worst card in the deck.
Yeah.
Now, it's nice that it's repairable, but what this does is it makes every damage card you get face up, and that can chain into just, it can chain into devastating results.
Having this card, like, being so unlucky to get this card twice in a row, face up, would be awful, because you would repair and be like, yes, I'm done, and then that would happen again.
Yeah. Let's see.
There was 2 in that.
One or more damage, suffer that much. Man. The way I'm reading this, I'd have to check. I'm pretty sure I'm reading this correctly. If you have 2 of these face up, if you get 3 face down damages, for example, you would get 6 face up instead.
Wait, what?
Well, as it reads, before you would suffer 1 or more damage, suffer that much critical damage instead. It doesn't say put them face up. It's dealing you different damage, different type of damage. It's not saying...
I disagree with you, but I understand what you're saying. But I disagree that
if it would say before you would suffer, or when you suffer X amount of damage, that would be face up, then yes. If you had 2 in front of you, they would basically do the same thing. You would just make those cards face up, but it doesn't say that. It says before you would suffer 1 or more damage, suffer that much critical damage instead. You would have to resolve both of these, which means if you have 3 damage coming into you, you're getting 6 face-up damage. That is awful. And I played a game today with the new Y-Wing, Republic Y-Wings. And my opponent was flying the Ghost, the Rebel Ghost. And he got hull breach. And I bombed him. I managed to get a bomb on him. And
that sucks.
He got a direct hit from the bomb, which deals a face-down damage. And because of that, he had to flip another one, and that one gave him another damage. It was bad. It chained into it. He ended up with 1 hull by the time it was done chaining the damage cards.
That sucks.
Yeah, that was bad. He still won.
I feel so... How did he still win?
He took out my 2 Naboo fighters very quickly.
Oh, that's why.
That's why. Yep. What do we got? Oh, there are 2 in the deck.
Yes, 2. Okay. Structural damage. While you defend, will 1 fewer defense die. No action.
Non-repairable. Yeah, that's bad. Now, green dice fail often.
Especially on the resistance Falcon, because you only roll 1 defense die.
Any ship that's rolling 1 defense die, you're now taking everything that comes in at you. Yeah. And there's no way. There are ways to repair it, but there are you must take upgrades to do so.
That I would say is one
like
of
she
the
said,
most.
yeah, that's pretty bad. Like she said, there are 2 in the deck. What's next?
Damaged sensor array. You cannot perform any actions except for the focus action and actions from the damage deck. Action, repair this card. I don't like that one.
Not awful.
It's not awful. I don't like it.
A lot of ships focus is usually the default action anyways, because it really covers all the bases in most cases. They're right. And
yep, yes it did, Dad.
and it's not the worst card in the world, but it is bad getting it on a ship that has lots of actions to choose from.
Yes.
So
2
in the deck.
Yes, 2 are in the deck.
Okay. What's next?
I don't know. Which is awful. Loose stabilizer. After you execute a non-straight maneuver, suffer 1 damage and repair this card. Action, repair this card.
This is awful because you always get it when you can't get it. You always get it when it's very important to do a turn maneuver.
For some reason, I know this is like equal to most of the cards in the deck. It has 2. Yes. This one, I don't think I've ever actually gotten.
You're lucky because, basically it says that you can't turn. You have to do a straight maneuver or you take a damage.
Which would suck if they're surrounding you, because no matter what, you would hit someone.
It would suck if you're on the edge of the board.
True statement. Yeah, actually.
Yeah, so...
That would have sucked for me that time I played and I accidentally...
When you got so close to the edge and you were like, is this going to make it? And then it did. So, alright.
It didn't make it, because I did the wrong tone, but... I didn't do a bank, I did a bank instead of a tone.
Okay. What else we got? 2 in the deck.
Yes, 2 in the deck. Okay. Disabled power regulator. Before you engage, gain 1 ion token. After you execute an ion maneuver, repair this card.
This one's interesting.
I don't think I've ever had a ship that's actually gotten an ion token.
Oh, well, I look forward to doing that. Basically, are you familiar with the ion maneuver? If a ship is ionized, it must perform a 1 blue straight.
Oh!
And
okay.
It does not get a dial that round. Small bases.
So if you were stressed, that wouldn't be too bad. If you were stressed.
Yeah, if you're stressed.
That actually works out.
I think a 1
doesn't it?
straight would actually be somewhat good. Like, it's not as bad as other things. Because
No, you're right. It's
a 1
not
straight,
the worst.
I definitely use 1 straights a lot.
No, you're right. It's not the worst maneuver, but being forced to do it and your opponent knows where you're going to be. That's the tricky part. Your opponent knows exactly where you're going to end up. Just for reference, the small base ships require 1 ion token to be ionized. The medium-sized require 2, and the large base ships require 3 ion tokens to be ionized. At which point, they're not assigned a dial, and they perform a 1 straight blue. So, large base ships, if that's face up, it takes them 3 turns to get ionized. 2 in the deck?
2 in the deck.
2 in the deck. Alright, non-repairable, right? Until you do the maneuver.
Yeah.
Okay. What's next?
Fuel leak.
Mm-hmm.
After you suffer 1 critical damage, suffer 1 damage, and repair this card. Action, repair this card. Yes.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad. When you take a critical, you have to take a face down as well.
It's not as bad as the other one, but it's definitely not the best.
Imagine getting hull breach as the critical.
Yes. Yeah.
That means every critical is now dealing another face up as well.
So that would just be like an ongoing chain then, right?
Yeah. There are some chains that will destroy a 6... You get it just right, you could destroy a decimator in 1 shot. Everything's got to work out perfect. But the way the chains can work, it can be awful. So, how many are in the deck?
4.
And it is repairable, so that's good. As an action, you can repair it.
If you didn't get this card, I'm impressed with you. There
Well,
are 4 in the deck compared to 2 from every other
it
card.
does come up pretty often. Not as often as the next one. I seem to get this one a lot.
I don't think direct hit.
This is the one people want to see. 'Cause it
This one
kills-
has 5 cards.
Yeah, there are 5 in the deck. obviously non-repairable. I mean, it only repairs because it triggers itself.
Direct hit, suffer 1 damage. Then repair this guy.
Right. When this comes up face up, you take another face down, and then that one goes face down.
Yes.
So it's worth 2, is what that means.
Bad.
It's bad. It's bad. It's the one you don't want to see.
Every time I've gotten it, I was like, okay. Because it's always on a ship that doesn't have any damage done to it.
Well, that must be nice. I get it all the time.
I've only gotten this card when it's the first face-up card, or first card I actually get. Like, right after. I never get this card when I'm like, no.
I get it at the worst times.
And I only get it on the big ships with, like, Ray or, like, the Falcon, which has 8 hull. I only get it on them. It's one of the best cards in my opinion, even though it's not.
Yeah. So how do you feel about the 2nd edition damage deck?
It's bad. I love it.
It's bad.
It's a great damage deck, but
I agree. I think it does everything it's supposed to do. Obviously, you don't want any of them, but some of them are better than others.
Yes.
Some of them are worse than others, and it's an interesting element in the game that you get to play with. So with that, thank you for joining us for this edition of the X-Wing Duo. We hope to see you next time.
Goodbye.